Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crypto Hipsters podcast, where I interview founders and co founders, entrepreneurs and artists, executives and stay at home hipsters in crypto and blockchain around the world. And I have an amazing podcast for you today. Let's get to it.
And today, coming live from Israel, is the CEO of NFTrade. His name is Ori Levi. Ori, welcome to the show.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
You are very welcome. So to kick things off, first question, what is your background, and is it a logical background to what you do now?
Sort of. So yeah, I've been in the crypto space, which I guess is the most interesting background I can tell about, since 2013. I've been into internet marketing throughout my career, and so the first thing that came to mind when I started with crypto was setting up a website that can help explain newcomers to crypto, Bitcoin. That was the only crypto back then. How to go around, what wallets they should use. So it was sort of it was a Bitcoin gateway, I called it. And so then we have went and developed a Bitcoin mining calculator, which was one of the more advanced ones out there in the market, and it was quite popular. And I've been throughout the downs and ups of crypto throughout the years. I was mainly dealing with creating doing PR for a lot of different crypto startups. I was a part of the founding members of Market Across, which is a very quite successful PR agency in the space. I've then moved on to some other projects that I've either advised or helped manage. And finally, I fast forward to 2020, I have discovered more about NFTs. I've recently heard about them in 2018, but that wasn't enough for me to get intrigued as what happened in 2020, where I have basically decided to start NFTrade. Yeah, so that's my background.
Great. So my first question then is, what is NFTrade? And we'll start there. What is that? What is that? What is NFTrade, and what are the good things that you're up to?
Yeah, so NFTrade is essentially an NFT aggregator, sort of like the index of all the NFTs from all the blockchains. So basically, we're trying to have one platform that can, where you can swap, buy, sell, and even farm for NFTs throughout the different blockchains. And it's good at what it does because we have actually presented, at least on a major marketplace, swaps, which is something that is unique in basically allowing. And this is how NFTrade started, to be really honest. This is the main thing that I saw was missing from any other marketplace. So we've introduced swaps between users. Basically, these swaps are escrowed by a smart contract, so no need for any third party to be involved, and allows users to swap NFTs for NFTs between them, which I think is going to be a major feature once NFTs become more of a norm for game items, but also for collectibles. And there are many use cases for swaps, obviously. And then once we've developed that, there was a surge of blockchain of marketplaces popping up on many different blockchains, and then we saw the major, much bigger issue with NFTs is that it's spread out throughout so many blockchains that cannot interact with each other, and this is why we've decided to become the standard and the place where NFTs can be swapped, traded, bought and sold between different blockchains. So we're creating the cross-chain ability for all these blockchains. We're actually live on mainnet with 3 blockchains currently: Ethereum, Binance, and Avalanche. And there are many more on the way.
Excellent. So I want to ask you about swaps, but first I want to set the pace. So, you said that your company works on all areas of the NFT lifecycle. At least in your white paper, it says you work on all areas of the NFT lifecycle. I know what NFTs are, and a lot of people have heard of them. But what is the NFT lifecycle? Walk me through that first, and then I'll have some follow-ups regarding the swaps.
So in terms of that phrase, NFT lifecycle, we basically mean that, in some places you can mainly purchase and sell NFTs. We are facilitating other forms of it, including, like you mentioned and I mentioned, swaps. But we're also talking about farming for NFTs. We're talking about creating raffles where NFTs can be won. We're talking about auctions. So really, all the forms of how one can purchase, buy or sell NFTs. Really trying to give the full kind of solution for anyone, if it's an artist or if it's a project that wants to have some utility NFT tokens introduced into their platform. And I will expand more about that, about utility NFTs later. But that basically means the NFT lifecycle, basically allowing all forms of NFT buys and sells, basically.
Great. And where in that lifecycle do the swaps fit in?
Yeah, so swaps are something that we believe is going to play a major role with NFTs. Right now, it seems so far-fetched because the fees are very high. But obviously, as more and more very cheap solutions come along, most known one is Polygon, Matic. A lot of these trades are happening more often. Also with blockchain like Wax, where the fees are very, very low, almost in doesn't make any difference on anything. So that's where we see swaps coming into play more and more. So for example, if you're a gamer and you're getting these weapons that you get dropped on throughout the game, or perhaps you completed a task and you want this special weapon or any game item really, and perhaps you got the same one twice, right? So what normally people do with other existing traditional games is they would, for example, on Steam, there are a lot of marketplaces where you can do that with other players, and that's something that's happening very often. People are offering swaps, and so we've built the same functionality for NFTs, where users who are most likely to want to replace those the ones they have double of, or just the ones they don't like, to replace instead of buying, so we basically allowed that.
Great. So you mentioned a little bit ago, we're going to talk about utility. I do want to talk about utility. How can we take, the utility of NFTs, and, their decentralized, features, right? Like these swaps, and to create, social communities that help improve, social good, eliminate maybe the effects of social media, or or enact change.
So yeah, so there are so many different ways where utility tokens can take place. Basically, currently, we're moving to a phase where your metaverse identity, your internet identity, is becoming more and more public, but also it's kind of Web3 is kind of slowly taking over Web2. We are very early to this, so it looks a little far-fetched, but eventually this is where I see the world is going to. So when you browse the internet, you'll hold in a decentralized way, hopefully, a lot of your identity on your Web3 wallet, for example. So having utility NFTs could open doors for you. For example, let's say you want to subscribe to a newspaper that you like reading, and these days you're using a username and password to log into that. But in the future, I believe that having a token that gives you that access is what's going to be the case. So you holding a token that grants you access to that newspaper is what's going to have you be able to surf into that newspaper, for example. And frankly, it's a much safer way, by the way, than holding passwords, of course. So just one example of a utility. There are really endless amounts, and we could speak about it for quite a long time. But yeah, that's mainly what I see as utility NFTs are. It's tokens that aren't artistic, they're not collectibles, but they have value. They can give you discounts to their different shops. They can give you a lot, really. A lot of different options.
Awesome. So you mentioned earlier that you are an index aggregator, right? You created an index aggregation. Are you aggregating the NFTs for just the ones that are artists, musicians, and gaming, or are you including the utility or the different aggregations? How does that index aggregation work?
So right now we've aggregated a lot of the more famous collections that are out there, just for the sake of having at least some of the more popular ones on our main net. But our goal eventually is to have all of them. That requires a lot of filtering and design to be done the right way, and this is something we're working on, because eventually there are going to be billions of NFTs, and there has to be a good way for us to show them to the users and make sure that they find what they're looking for. So right now, this is our main challenge, is to make sure that we know how to filter them in a way that the users will find what they're looking for. But to answer your question, yeah, we're looking to aggregate all the NFTs, all types.
Great. So, and that includes the ones that have decentralized finance components, like staking, right?
Yep, them too. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this: you started out with a Bitcoin gateway and created a Bitcoin calculator, right? And then you migrated to NFTs, which are, from what I understand, are mostly Ethereum. What do you see as the role of decentralized finance in Bitcoin and Ethereum? And then How did both fit into what you're doing?
Yeah, so you know what I think first I'll take the longer route to this answer. So yes, I started with Bitcoin, and if you asked me what do you think is better, Bitcoin or Ethereum, I'd always say Bitcoin. I'm not a maximalist, but I think that it essentially eventually Ethereum has opened the doors to do a lot more with cryptocurrencies than Bitcoin has. Um, and I think that DeFi has shown that it actually works. Unlike the 2017 ICO boom, where everyone started to make everything decentralized, that didn't work out quite well. But when it came to decentralized finance, that worked, and people were actually able to utilize their idle funds and make profit on them. And I love seeing how all of that evolved. NFTs are crypto related, but I wouldn't put them on the same equation or like even the same category as DeFi and Bitcoin. I think they're utilizing similar technology, but they're definitely not part of, they're not money related, and they hold value, of course. They have value, and that's great, but I wouldn't consider them to be a part of the crypto revolution as much as their technology that they use is as great.
Great. So, so in the beginning, you mentioned the Bitcoin gateway and the Bitcoin calculator. Can you please explain those two things to me?
Yeah, no, it was just a project that I was working on when I first got into Bitcoin. I thought that there is a lot of knowledge that is hard to find, so I kind of created sort of like an index website where I listed all of the recommended wallets, the recommended exchanges. I had some reviews on them, and that sort of thing. I guess that you can find quite a lot of these exist these days, which is great. But back then there weren't so many. Regarding the calculator, the reason I developed that one was because there was no calculator, and back then everyone were mining. People were mining from home, so we wanted to create something that would be simpler for people to use without having to input manually all the data. They could just choose the graphic cards that they had, and it would automatically input all the information for them. And eventually, what made us popular was the fact that we took the difficulty increase in mining into equation. Other calculators couldn't do that, so their calculations were off. So because the difficulty was growing a lot, and none of them took the future growth into calculation, then that's what made us a bit more popular than the others. Eventually, the big players in that industry has taken our advice and added that features as well.
Excellent. So I wanted you to say that keyword, and you did, which is mining.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but the president of El Salvador said that they're going to be, a Bitcoin friendly country, right? And
Yeah.
they also said that they're going to be building a mining facility on a volcano.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, they did.
No.
And so I wanted to get your thoughts on how mining can be improved, how the Bitcoin ecosystem could be improved, and get your views on El Salvador.
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm more into what I'm building on right now. I can't say that I'm not worried about the consuming of energy, but I also think that other things consume energy and doing much worse than what Bitcoin is doing. So if they can make it and use sustainable energy, then I'm all up for that. But if they can't, I'm still very bullish on Bitcoin and still as a heavy supporter, because I just think that honestly there is no other way to make it actually be resistant to bad actors.
Right. Great. So,
but I'll have a look at the Volcano stuff. It's interesting.
it was one of the coolest things I've seen probably in my lifetime.
Okay.
So one last question. Well, I have a couple last questions. Regarding the NFTs, back to the NFTs, how do you see as building out sustainability in the NFTs? How can we not just create them and trade them, but how can we build sustainability features so they last for a long time?
Well, I think that first of all, a lot of projects are choosing what I feel like experimental blockchains, because not all of them are going to last. And the main thing about NFTs is that they last forever, as long as they're on a blockchain that lasts forever. But if in 10 years, people who are building on, I don't want to throw in any names, not to insult anyone, who are actually aggregating all NFTs from all platforms without making any exceptions at this point. But from personal view, if you're building something that you think is worthy, don't build it on a small side chain just because you want to capitalize on their community, because this is what happens right now. So I believe that the ones that are building on Ethereum, for example, even though the fees are way higher, are the ones that are actually going to last longer. And yeah, I'm a true believer that Ethereum is never going to die, for example, but other blockchains could, and their NFTs will die with them.
And how do you feel about you said side chains? How do you feel like?
No, but I used side chains as a wrong, because obviously Polygon is a side chain, and that one's going to last too. And it's actually one of the best solutions that anyone has presented to the Ethereum community so far. And I feel like that's the future. That's where all of the problems that are currently with the Ethereum, even though we have ETH 2.0 coming, I feel like Polygon still going to have a big part of the game, because it's still going to be faster, it's still going to be cheaper, and they're building really great tech behind it.
I was going to ask about level 2s. Polygon is level 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I want to thank you very much for your time today. I learned a lot. It's been a great conversation. You're welcome. And my last question is this: how can people find out more information about you, about NFTrade? How can they, learn more? How can they get involved? How can they do that?
Yeah, so I mean, we have our Telegram channel. If you guys like Telegram, just look for NFTrade. It's gonna be there. We also have a Discord. You can find our link on nftrade.com. We have a very, very active Medium blog where we post almost every day. You can find information about the NFT industry or NFT space, and be really up to date with almost anything that's happening in that space. So we try to keep it very, very active, and go and check it out.
All right, I will. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, you too, Jamil. Thanks for having me.